10, 9, 8, 7,
Count for that.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One.
Cool.
Boom. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for coming to our panel here. This is our first MAGFest, so we're pretty excited.
Yep.
It's been pretty sweet so far. But I heard today is like the ease day, so I'm sure it's going to get a lot crazier in the next few days. But it's been awesome. But yeah, so this is going to be a panel that's going to be open. You guys can ask questions throughout. We'll definitely open up questions in the end, but I want it to be pretty casual and kind of let you guys know about our journey, and also if we have like inspiring developers in the audience to let us know what your story is too, and then we can see how we have any synergies there. But we're Decoy Games. My name's Ahmed Abdullah. This is my brother Khalil. We're a three-man team. Chris is our artist, and we're gonna talk to you guys about how we kind of went on this journey of just being gamers.
Yeah, literally.
And then wanted to make games, and how we were able to do that through self-publishing, self-funding, and that whole path to get on consoles.
Yep.
But if we're going to talk about, what's our starting game, it's a game called Swimsanity. It's a 4-player underwater shooter with competitive cooperative game mode, so you can actually play it right now on the MAGFest show floor. We've been fortunate enough to win a few awards kind of at different award shows the last few years that kind of propelled us forward. The games will come out on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and Steam this year. And instead of talking about it, kind of want to show you some gameplay if you guys don't mind. So my brother's going to play a little bit of it, show you guys a little bit of Swimsanity before we get started.
I'm not just going to play, I'm going to win.
I mean, you're going to play against bots, so don't gloat or anything at this point. Not anything too crazy. But the game has 8 different game modes. Let's see. Yeah, it's good sound. Perfect. I don't want to be too loud. All right, go ahead, dude.
Yeah.
8 different game modes. You can play local or online. Khalil's going to jump into a deathmatch mode. He's going to play with bots. So we wanted to make a game where it was a really fun multiplayer experience where no matter what kind of style you like playing, whether it's co-op or competitive, we have different game modes for you to jump into. Our competitive modes have been really popular since we do a lot of tournaments. People kind of can jump on and compete. We wanted something where people can kind of jump into and kind of learn very quickly. So with Swimsanity, you're one of these MOBA characters. Right now he's playing Deathmatch Free-For-All. The player with the most KOs by the end of 3 minutes wins. So throughout the match, they're gonna go ahead and damage each other, get some KOs there. Khalil, you're already down. You're kind of already disappointing me here. And what happens while they're getting KOs, their unleash bar fills up. Once their unleash bar is full, they'll be able to unleash Swimsanity. So what is Unleash Swimsanity? It's basically a super move that can kind of change the whole battlefield and have these different moves that you can go through. Khalil has a Harpoon Unleash. You'll see like a Piranha, someone turn to a Piranha, or have a Bomb Drone. Here we go. We got a Harpoon Unleash being used here. But these are the moves that you kind of use between the game. The cool thing is, since it's competitive and co-op, all these moves go across all game modes. If you're playing like a 2v2 or in co-op, you can actually combine your unleashes together and do a team unleash. So it allows for more abilities to kind of come through. And I had a lot of challenge in balancing everything, because when you're typically just designing for a competitive game, then you want to make sure it's balanced between competitive players. But now that has co-op in it too, you got to make sure it's actually balanced when playing against like some sea creatures that come across or whatever. In our co-op mode, we actually have like an adventure mode where you can actually side scroll and compete against these big bosses. So the one thing is that when people see this game, they might see this mode, it's just like, okay, this is just a kind of competitive underwater game. But we have these other modes that have a huge kind of concept to it as well, that are completely on the co-op side. So throughout the game too, you'll see that you can shoot these capsules, pick up these weapons and power-ups. You'll see like a seahorse with dynamite strapped onto it that just blows up your opponents. So a lot of chaos, but we want to make sure that chaos is still able to follow the game with all the colors and things like that. So we try to make sure that's all coming together here. So yeah, and a lot of this too, a cool story too is our artist Chris. When he first started making the game, he actually was only a graffiti artist at the time. I actually taught him how to use the software and kind of get better at it year over years. If I showed you old images, it was just an old Flash game. But he actually did all of the art on a trackpad on his Mac. So all of it's just kind of done with these kind of rigid lines and these kind of crazy approach to it, but it all worked out really well. So you're using a bomb drone here. He's got a little drone helping me out. There's 50 seconds left in the match. See how Khalil's doing. All right, you're tied right now.
Well, I'm listening to your story, and it was very
it's boring. So. You just can't focus. I get it. Yeah, always got excuses. Good thing I'm not playing this match. It wouldn't even been close. So he's using his harpoon unleash here. If they were tied at the end, there's like a sudden death. But he said there's actually 13 unleashes in the game. The other thing about the game too is we actually have 150 challenges, which means that we want to actually encourage everyone to play different game modes. So if you're playing competitive modes or different challenges like getting a 3 KO streak or using unleash in a certain way to achieve that unleash being used. If you're playing co-op modes, it's like beating different levels with either 4 players surviving to the end. Different things that we have out throughout the game, and that's really like the end game to complete all 150 challenges. We actually just ran a test beta earlier this year and another one a couple weeks ago to test our online play. Went really well, so it was kind of one of the experiences too we got to kind of test out online and go with it as well. So that's Swimsanity right there. So we're gonna jump back into the presentation. Good job, man.
Thank you.
I'm glad
Appreciate
you didn't embarrass yourself in front of everybody. I get a little worried that sometimes.
Yeah, drop out.
All right, no, I got you. Let me just close this. Jump back into presentation so you guys saw that was all about there. All right, let's go on to it. So.
Yeah, so a little bit about like some of the things that we pride ourselves on. Like I said, we are literally just started from being gamers inside of our bedroom, so we're completely self-taught. So everything that we did game development wise was done learning through like YouTube videos, online tutorials. And the reason we like to emphasize that a lot is because a lot of times we get a game developer say, you know, where can I start? Or I couldn't get into school, or, you know, especially nowadays, the knowledge for game development is so public that you can get started literally today if you have no experience doing any game development. And by the end of the week, you could be doing something simple like moving a ball across the screen, right? And it's always, doing something is always more than nothing, right? And like I said, you can literally start from scratch if you don't know any coding, any development, and you can start learning how to do game development today. Now, of course, if you do know those things, it'll propel you to higher levels and get you a little bit further down the line. So the other thing, I talk about this a lot too, is we're self-funded. As we know, with indies, funding is a very, very huge obstacle for us. Our strategy when we started was to make sure that we were not relying financially on our first game, which is probably one of the worst decisions indies make a lot of times is, you know, I want to make this game. In order to make it big, I'm going to leave my full-time job. I'm going to go work in my, you know, my parents' basement. Horrible idea. Honestly, the best way to go about it is to work on your game on nights and weekends while you have something else that, you know, pays the rent, pays the bills and whatnot. And what we did, like I said, is we worked on nights and weekends on the game, and what that allowed us to do is once our game was actually ready to the point where we felt like we can push it commercially, we had more control about, you know, coming to events like MAGFest, going to things like PAX East, E3, GDC, because we were able to actually put together a plan with the money that we were making on the side. So try not to be over-reliant, especially for your first indie game financially. Find another means of making money. And the other thing I'll say, especially for like developers, is you don't have to get a game development job to fund yourself, right? As a developer, you have a skill that actually carries across all different industries. So find the job or find the means of making finances that basically makes you comfortable. Do your hobby or hustle on the side until you can get yourself on your feet enough to go, you know, completely indie. Yeah.
Also kind of on that too, and we'll dive more into this too, we talk about when we go indie and you're doing the game industry, we always tell people, just like any other business in any industry, you need a development, you need a business plan. And with a business plan, you need a financial plan too. And that can come in different sizes depending on what you're aiming for and that success. So we'll close kind of break down our story, but we'll also be able to see, because there's never just one path either. Whatever you do, always have a financial plan. Like, don't just jump into it.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't do it with, if you opened up a convenience store down the block or something, you'd have some type of financial plan. The same thing with indie. We're all, you know, if this is your main business, your means of making some income, we have to treat it like a business. So you gotta do that the same way here.
And then the self-time, the self-funded led us to being self-published. Now, by the way, there's many ways to become indie. So you see a lot of indies today going the publisher route, but we just want people to know that you don't necessarily need a publisher. If you're in a scenario where you lack business expertise, you lack marketing expertise, and you do need that person there or that studio there, that publishing studio to help you, definitely look into that. But that's not the only option, and it's far from required. Right? If you're willing to learn the industry outside of development, outside of art, outside of the actual making of the game, self-publishing is a very doable route for a lot of indies, and there's nothing wrong with it. And honestly, it has a lot of benefits that the publishing route does not have.
Yep, and like I said, we're going to dive into these 3 topics, kind of break it up in steps, and any questions on kind of our experiences, maybe that can help you out as far as these 3 things, we'll definitely are very happy to share in this next hour. So, actually, just going right on what Khalil said. The main focus of actually our story, too, is talking about console development as well, because that's definitely one of those leaps that I think a lot of indie developers might not have a lot of insight on. I want to give you guys insight on how to get there. And one of the things that people think is that you need a publisher to get on consoles. That isn't necessarily true. You don't always need a publisher. And we're going to talk a little bit about what they would do versus what you could do and how you can do that as well. And there's different, you'll be surprised where you can meet these people that might be able to kind of bridge that gap for you. So one fact here is the fact you don't need a publisher to get on consoles, and we want to show you guys that that's why that's not the case. But what are the 5 steps to self-publishing on consoles here? So step 1, got to make a good game. That's like the first step, and we're gonna dive into that a bit, because a lot of times, like, we might think we made a good game, but we don't know. And what you have to do to kind of make sure that you are gonna evaluate your game the way that people would evaluate a game, not just because it's like your baby and whatever. We're all gamers here, so we all know what good games are.
Yeah, our baby was ugly like 7 times before we thought it was.
We had an ugly baby, but we had to make it pretty. But you have to be able to, evaluate what that is. Step 2, so preparing for visibility. So we're going to talk about how to get your game out there, how to make it visible, what different avenues you can take to do that, what that might mean for you, and different ways to go there. Step 3 would be showcasing and networking. Something we're actually doing right now. Showcasing your game, what goes in that. Like, we've done, how many exhibits? We've done maybe like 30 at this point.
In the last year, I think,
or so. So talking about showcasing, what that means, because there's some things that people might think it's just PAX East is the only show you might get, a lot of big people coming by, but that's not necessarily true. There's actually small shows. You get a lot of interesting people coming by. It might open up paths for you. So we're gonna talk about that. Talk about networking and kind of different paths you can do that. The console approval kind of process, a little bit of that, what that goes into, getting into consoles, like bridging that gap there. And go-to-market strategy. So once you're ready to get your game out there, you have to have a go-to-market strategy, which is how you're going to sell that game. Before I continue, how many people in here are developers? Raise your hand. All right, cool. So we got a good amount of developers. All right, awesome. Anyone has developing a game right now on Steam, on PC? Mobile? Consoles?
Hopefully.
Just, all right, so okay, so we're gonna go through and see how we can connect this to you guys and what avenues you can do here. All right, so step 1, making a good game.
Yeah, so when we're talking about making a good game, a lot of times it's not, honestly, especially when you're planning on selling a game, it's not necessarily about making a game that you think is good. Like, you definitely want to think your game is good, but it goes a lot farther beyond that. So first is a process of actually making the game. As we talked about before, there's the learning process. Everything is public at this point, right? If you can get into school, do that, but if not, that's not an excuse, right? So going online, searching tutorials, there are literally tutorials that start you from the beginning and get you all the way to the end, right? Once you've now made this game and you have, a playable test demo, a sliver as they call it, find yourself some honest friends or strangers who are not afraid to tell you what's wrong with your game.
Yeah, so for us too, how we did it as well as, like Khalil said, that after we went to school, so we went to school for computer science.
Yep.
After that, we were really focused on kind of working on our prototype, which was just a Flash game. So Swimsanity, to let you guys know, went to college, graduated 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So this game was a Flash game.
A Flash game, hyper
It was really simple. It actually was just collecting gold at the bottom of the sea, little guy bringing it back up to a boat. But we were using it to kind of teach ourselves how to develop. And then at that point, we also used our friends to like test it a lot. First it was in school, and then after that, when we were trying to jump to consoles, we used our friends to test that playthrough. The first framework we used when we were going to go to consoles was actually a thing called Xbox Live Indies, XNA framework.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember it. There you go. There you go.
There you go.
So
we're really locked in with this guy over here.
yeah. We're on the same path. You're on a good path there. So Xbox 360, they had, you guys probably remember Xbox Live Arcade, which when that was like the boom of indies, right? You got Castle Crashers, Braid was going through there. But there's also like this little channel called Xbox Live Indies where you have to go like through like 5 tabs to get to. But the cool thing was it was pretty open to the people that get on there. I think it was like $100 or something. It's kind of like what Steam is.
It's like Steam
now.
today, before Steam.
Yeah, it was like $100 you pay, and then you get this XNA framework, which that part was free to develop.
Yep.
And then at that point, you could launch it onto the 360. When we were developing, actually, we never got to the point we got it on 360. It was only on PC, but it was cool because it worked with the Xbox 360 controllers. It gave us like an idea that, hey, we're making a console game. So that was our start there. And once we got to a certain build where we're like, okay, seems playable, we started having our friends play. And like even just seeing them play, like they liked it, but there's also things that you got to kind of catch on to. Like, are they struggling with something?
Are they always asking questions?
Yeah.
When you walk out the room, do they keep playing? Stuff like that. And that when we're saying make a good game, it's not do I play my game and am I happy with it? Can other people play the game and be happy with it without knowing you're watching, right?
Yeah.
Do they want to come back and play again, or do they just kind of play once and then look at you and then walk away? Some advice that I give people a lot is, young kids will be the most honest people who will ever play your game. They will tell you straight to your face, this game is trash, and walk out. I'm dead serious. So if you have young people who can play your game, have them play your game. They'll give you honest feedback. But no matter what, always make testing a primary focus of your development cycle. I don't care if you're in the beginning, middle, or end. It's a very key part to knowing and being honest with yourself with exactly where your game is.
And most likely when you start developing a game, it's probably like just what I call like an experience. So maybe you dived into like a beat 'em up and you have some mechanics going on. It's like, oh, I have like this level or whatever. But at some point you do, especially if you're really going into making a game, especially to a console, you have to step back and be like, okay, now what's gonna actually make this like a full game though? What's my full end-to-end game? And that's when you as gamers, which I know you guys are all gamers here at MAGFest, here to enjoy, you guys know what a good game is. But it's hard as a developer sometimes to like step back into your gamer focus and be like, I need to play this as a gamer. Now, is this something I would buy? And if I was gonna buy it, how much would it be? Also, what other games are like this? What was their kind of thing? So really taking time to like step out and look at your game as a gamer, I think is like that first step you really have to do to start seeing what your game is actually like. And by the way, we're gonna show a bunch of cosplay people throughout. We met at different shows throughout this slide. So
we didn't know what to put for pictures.
Yeah, I didn't know what to put for pictures. So you're gonna see a bunch of people give them some fame up here. So yeah, that was a little bit of how we did it and how you can do it now. Just to go over again. It's never too early to get started. Like I said, I know there's some developers in the room, maybe some inspiring developers. The difference when we started was that there wasn't all like so much easy access to like Unity and Unreal. Like there weren't like free tiers. I mean, XNA framework, and we still had to pay $100 for that. But when we made a switch to Unity at that point, which we kind of restarted our game again, I mean, that wasn't really even available till later in our cycle. But those things are available now. Like if you're not in these engines, you can definitely get started. Do something simple. Like don't be afraid to get started there. There's a lot of great material online, a lot of great communities, people to help you out too. It's never too early to get started. Like your first game is gonna suck. Like it just is your first version of it, but it's fine. You're getting started and you're gonna get through it, and it could really turn to something special.
Yeah, and you always learn through iterations, right? So you're always, like the way we developed our games, we made one version of our game which was really bad, but then we stopped and we're like, all right, what did we do good? And then what can we do better? Then we kind of started over and did it again. So no matter what, completing a game is a huge accomplishment. I don't care what the game is, and you can take so much positive out of just finishing a game into your next project.
Yep. So, preparing for visibility.
So as I said before, a huge part of kind of preparing for visibility, the first part was to make sure that we were in some shape or form financially comfortable enough to do our indie hustle on the side. So we worked full-time jobs. So whatever that means for you with the skills that you have in the workforce, make sure that, all I'm trying to say is make sure that gaming, your first game is not your, this is what I need to make money. There's a lot more easy ways to make money than doing a first-time indie. So find another way to fund yourself. After you're done with that funding, be prepared for a long run. Like I said, this is a long-term process. Things might not go well the first few iterations, but as long as you have yourself in a stable scenario where you can, do these things on, nights and weekends or during your spare time, and you're driven to get to the end line, trust me, it will be worth it.
Yeah, it's really, like I said, having that plan together so that you can go into this. I mean, and also, what is your level of success? Is it just making a game end to end? That success is measured by different things. It's not necessarily, some people want to get into it and make millions of dollars, sell millions of copies. That might be their level. Maybe you just want to make a game that just, a few people can play. Either way, they'll have a plan together. Right. I would think most people, especially people in this room, would love to do this as their career. And once you're going to do it as a career, it's a business. If it's a business, you need a business plan. You need money to do things. So come up with something. I said for us, we had jobs out of college, so we stuck in those jobs and then make sure we did this on the side for as long as we could, so we had patience with it. And then when it was ready, we were able to kind of show it out there. And then once we felt comfortable, now we're full-time on this. But having a plan together is very, very key. And like I said, there's a lot of ways to do this, but this is one where I think too many indies kind of jump right into it too quickly and not having a financial plan together. Like, we know a few people personally that are struggling financially, but are clearly
capable,
very
capable.
Talented
right.
coders,
right.
Which it's like, okay, you could use maybe that coding talent to get a job that probably pays you pretty well, just to get yourself on your feet, instead of just saying, I'm just gonna do this.
And waiting for investors and stuff like that.
And then, keep the game going, keep doing that on the side. So there's just different ways to do it. I think once you're having the ability to even make a game, your skill set probably is valuable enough to get you a pretty decent paying job that can probably fund this project, your actual passion project.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like I said, as you're getting better at game development, you are developing skills that will allow you to, explore other industries as well. Because like I said, you're building, development talent. You're building, like project planning talent. So just keep that in mind too. You're also resume building as you're going along.
Right. This might open a door for you to get a job work for somewhere pretty amazing as well. So. So yeah, just to recap on what you can do, I said have a funding plan. I just say that so many times that's just a huge thing that I think is missed. And just kind of going on the preparing visibility thing, there's so many ways to get social, and figure out like what's your, what are you most comfortable doing? So for us, we love interacting with people. So showcases was a big thing for us. We loved going to shows. So we know we were strong there. So we knew we had to kind of get in front of people and make sure our personalities out there to connect and build that social network. Some people are really good with social media, Discord. Some people are really good at Reddit. Like, I suck at Reddit. I tried it and I couldn't do it. I know people are really good at it. But also find where your comfort zone is. There's so many ways that you can build a social network. Yeah. And there's always explore all of them, is all I'm saying.
The other thing too is this is kind of the step before, I guess, you can throw your game out at the world. So make sure that you have your platforms lined up before you do that. The last thing you want to do is throw your game out there and be like, oh my God, I should make a Facebook, or I should make a Twitter for my game, or I should make a website. It's better to line that stuff up beforehand. So make your website, get your social medias that you want to stay active on, get your YouTube up with your trailer, get your press kit together. So typically a good thing to have is, in the case that somebody such as a console or a publisher comes to you, to have your stuff all in a package that you can easily say, here's my trailer, here's screenshots of my game, here's what the game is about. It's always good to have that in some shape or form where you can easily distribute it.
So has anyone heard of press kit? What that is? Okay, so press kit is a tool made by Rami, I forgot his full name. Rami, he's made a lot of great stuff. It basically builds like a full press kit website, a very professional one.
Yeah.
When we first started ours, I was almost like, all right, that's what I heard you have to do. Let me just put it up. But like so many people go to our press kit that are either from media or even professionals that go through there. It's very important to make sure that's up there. You'd be surprised how many people go to that to make sure that they can just kind of get a quick look of what you've done as a business, where your game's been, and then like when some people start making articles, they just pull stuff right from there. So this is definitely something you want to have ready before you're really starting to push out your game. It's definitely very beneficial in the long run. At first, you might not see if it's beneficial, but then once you see that people are actually going to, it definitely helps. All right, number 3, showcasing and networking. So you said this is kind of the thing we love doing. We love going to conventions for networking and building our brand. So for us, that was when we first started. So the first convention we went to was actually small ones over in Boston. So we're from Boston, Mass. I didn't even mention that. We're from Boston, Massachusetts. We had a small, it's called Games Forum at the time, and it was just like these little demo nights. That's kind of where we started. Just some demo nights, have people come playing. But that was when we started kind of building our base and having people play and getting comfortable with having our game be showcased. And then when one of our first big show was PAX East 2013. We went to PAX East 2013, got a little 10x10 booth, and it was definitely like an overwhelming, awesome experience to see how many people come by and play. But it really was just getting your game out there and starting to build your brand. And once we were able to do that, we were actually able to kind of bring in some people kind of seeing how they enjoy it, but also was like confirmation that, okay, like Khalil said, seeing how people enjoy your game, seeing if you like it or not, that actually allowed people to see that and kind of build what your brand is. Like I said, for us, it was being social and going there. But one thing I want to say is not, like PAX East is not the only convention or whatever, these big ones where you can actually get eyes on your game or whatever. So a couple stories from us is for getting on consoles, we actually got 2 of them at 2 small shows. So one of them was Xbox. So to get on Xbox, we actually had a showcase called Boston Festival for Indie, so Boston Fig. I don't know if anyone heard of Boston Fig. It's like a couple thousand people go there. It's way smaller than MAGFest. It's just one show floor. It's at a college floor. We got in through their like indie showcase. We were just showing our game there. And you just never know who can kind of come through. And this guy was playing our game. He was just with Microsoft. Really liked the game. And he just said after, he's like, you guys looking to get on Xbox? And we're like, yeah, that would be great. And he's like, all right, here's my card. If you could contact me and see if I can get you guys a dev kit and things like that. And that was at a small show. And we've been to bigger shows and people don't go by. But one thing I always say to do, if you're looking to get to partner with brands, whether it's to get on a platform or maybe it's something like a Steam or whatever, look at who's sponsoring the event. It's one thing we always do. We go to the sponsor page and then we go down and see. So a lot of times when we go to shows now, I look who's sponsored. I'm like, all right, Nintendo's maybe there or Microsoft's there. Maybe someone will be there in person. Yeah, a lot of times they are.
I think one of the big takeaways is the fact that you don't need to go to a big show to get eyes on your game. Like, you would be surprised who would be at the small shows as well. And I say that, once again, it's part of having a plan, right? Like, to get into the gaming industry doesn't mean you have to go right to PAX and E3 and whatnot. You can go to small local shows. I know you guys actually have some meetup groups here in Washington as well. Starting from there is a really good place to begin. Not just for getting, publishers and console eyes on your game, but also it's an amazing way to get testing. Like, you'll see a lot of indies in the indie section today. Even though that we're happy to have people play our game, we're also happy to have people break our game as well or show us where the flaws are. And there's no better way to test your game in mass numbers than to go at a convention. And like I said, once again, you're reading the reaction of people, you're doing the cycle of figuring out whether or not the game is good for the public and whatnot. So showcases and conventions, game jams, these are all really good ways to further yourself in the industry, meet other individuals, test and rework your game until you get it to the point where you want.
Especially now with streamers, like now that streamers are kind of go to shows and things like that, that's a big one I think we learned. And I feel we have a lot of brands that come to us that are like these streamer curators. And they say like, hey, pay us or whatever, we'll get like these 500 streamers to stream your game. And we always told them like, we already have like a list of 100 streamers by just going to shows. And just going to these showcases, having these guys come by and they'll start saying, hey, I stream, can I stream your game? Like just going over and over, you can build a library that's honestly as impressive as people that are going to charge you. That's one thing we learned over. Like we have so many people trying to come to us, say like they can bring streamers to us, and we're like, why would I pay you for that? I just go to a show and people want to stream for free. Like I don't have to pay them. They say they want it for free.
And we've seen this is a lot of people go to conventions, right? So you get to see a lot of media and podcasters and streamers come to your booth to check out your game, and then from there, once again, it's all about getting visibility. They share your content with their users, and your game just kind of slowly starts to build and grow and grow. Yep.
Just one more story too on getting another publisher. So for us, when I say publisher, I mean like a platform, Nintendo. We were at an event in Harlem called Game Devs of Color, awesome event, one of my favorite events there. We just had a small table, and these two guys in these Mario shirts just started coming to play our game, and I didn't even like realize that they were Nintendo. Just talked to them, they were playing the whole game the whole time, and then he kind of just walked away, gave me his card, and he was from Nintendo, and that's when I pulled him in to say like, we really want to get on your platform and things like that. But that spurred a relationship with us and Nintendo that's by far our strongest relationship with the platform. But it was at a very small show in Harlem, just meeting these guys on Nintendo, and now we have a great relationship with them. We're fortunate enough to be on the Spring Nindies Showcase in 2019. But like I said, you don't have to go to this PAX East. So that was a free show for us.
Yeah,
Boston Fig was a free show for us. Like PAX East, we paid for that. We didn't run into neither one of those. So there's always opportunities. You just don't know who can come play your game. Like I said, not people, even if you guys aren't trying to get on consoles, it can be a certain streamer, a certain person that might like a game and say, hey, I just want to showcase this. You'd be surprised the nice things people will do for you once they kind of really like what you're showing.
Yeah, so this is kind of just a recap of that. Like I said, going to conventions is a great way to get your game out there, get many people to test it, share and connect with media. And like I said, the console publishers are always going there looking for up-and-coming talent too as well.
And a lot of these shows too, there's one thing I do as I go, I think the website uses eventforgamers.com. Might want, I think it's called eventforgamers.com, or I just search. I check for shows that are like indie showcases, ones that might be able to gain some accolades. So if it's like submit your game, maybe get in for, get this accolade there. Those build up and build a great resume for your game. And we didn't even realize when we first started, just getting into a showcase, like you could put a badge up just off that. So we got into MAGFest, so that's a badge because you got selected. And you build these up over time, and a lot of times you get in for free. So like I said, just other ways to be financially smart, try to get some recognition by going through these. So definitely check in your area. There's always something going on, especially if you are close to a city. Like there's always some gaming community there that you can definitely leverage. Okay. Yeah, so once again, just the fact of small, affordable showcases can be more beneficial than big ones. That just, historically for us, that's been true. We love the big ones too, but they definitely had a lot of stuff that helped. All right, so the console approval. So just kind of dive into this process a little bit here. So for us, so just to let you know, you can actually submit a game on console right now. Every single one of them have a website you can submit to. And it goes to probably some pile of like 1,000 applications, I'm assuming. But that is a way to get in. I've heard people get in through that way. That's definitely one path. I would not discourage you from doing that. There's no harm in doing it necessarily. The better way, in my opinion, is to try to go to places where these people are. And like I said, it can be small or big. I think one of the best ways to do it is to look at the sponsors. And if there's a sponsor, there's probably someone that's there. I said for Nintendo, the person we were talking to was just a tester, but he got us in contact with someone else, got us contact with someone else that made it all the way up to the guy, Kirk Scott, who actually is the guy you see in all the Nindy Showcase videos and stuff, and we have a good relationship with him. So it doesn't have to be like that person. You just never know who that person knows in the company. So doing that, and then they see your game, getting a champion inside each platform, each brand is always important. And that's for any type of partnership you might be able to go. If you got like a Twitch partnership or something, having a champion in that platform is one of the things. That's one thing we're able to get is someone that like really vouches for us and be able to push through there. So leveraging those.
Yeah, and it's very similar to like a job interview, right? Like if you submit your resume through like Monster.com, I'm not saying you won't get a job up there, but you're competing with thousands to maybe even more people who are looking for the same job. But if you're able to actually make a contact with these people who, once again, they're not as hard to find as you may think, because like I said, they walk around conventions like this. They just don't always wear their like Nintendo badge or whatever. It's a lot easier once you have that face-to-face connection. Once they see your game, once they see people playing your game, honestly, they start to kind of come out to you. So working through those networks, working through your media networks once you kind of build these things. Also, even while you meet other game developers, right? Going to different game conventions, you might meet other developers who have, talked to Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft or other influencers along the way and say, hey, is there any way we can possibly talk about, exchanging contacts, or could you share this with so-and-so? That's another really great way to get yourself into further along in the industry. But networking is a huge part, and it's with everybody, honestly. Developers, distributors, publishers, media, streamers. Don't be afraid to throw yourself out there. It's a technique you learn the same way you do development, right? Networking is something that you're going to try a few times, you'll fail a few times, and you'll improve as you go along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, so I talked about you can definitely submit anytime for console. That's something you can do, but really it's creating those relationships and getting a good portfolio that's key. They're definitely going to look at kind of your portfolio there. A lot of times they say they look for people that have commercially released before. But if you have a good portfolio and something where, like I said, if you've been to a lot of showcases, have shown that people actually are really engaged with the game, I mean, they're going to see you as a good business partner. So they'll definitely build that relationship so you can get approved there. Okay, so at this point, you got a good game, you showcased, you got on console, everything's looking good. Now you got to build a go-to-market strategy. So you have to kind of come up with some way that's going to get yourself out there. And this is something that's very important too. I think one thing that happens a lot, even when developers get to that point, it's like, don't just rush your game out there. And I know it's really hard to do because it could be for financial reasons. It could just be excitement. The fact you're excited, or just maybe just sick of just developing. I just want to get this game done. It's really important to build some type of go-to-market strategy. And what I mean by that is, what do I need to do to get more people to want to buy my game? Or what is my market? Understanding what that is. So for us, we kind of, when we were going through this process, since we were trying to do it on the side, we wanted to keep working until we got to a point where we can compete with those indies that are getting on console. So we looked at what they did. So one thing we always recognized that they did, these indies were either maybe in these like showcases, maybe these Nindies Directs, they won awards, or they went through these different paths. So if we wanted to sell as well as they did, we need to accomplish the same things they do. So that was our target. Your target might be different, but you want to find games that are similarly. If you want to look at a certain game, if you want to be the next Super Smash, then you got to go and see what Super Smash did. If you want to be the next Cuphead, look at what they did. If you want to be like Towerfall, what did they do in their past? Like, what path were they on? So we looked at what our targets were, and then we try to see what path we can take the same way. For us, a couple of things that were really big for us, one was the Nindies Direct back in 2019 in the spring. We knew that was something we wanted to really shoot for. So when we got in contact with Nintendo, we just asked them directly to see what would be the path for us to try to get on a Direct. Because we know if we can get on there, then that would be maybe our big moment to kind of get our game out there. It was definitely a rigorous process to get through it, but that was our first kind of strategy go to market. Once we were able to kind of qualify for that and get through that, it really opened up the door to see what our market was. Now we're able to get a trailer on the official Nintendo website, to see people actually come to our booth now and be like, oh, I've seen this game before, as opposed to what is this game? So trying to change that narrative. Also, ID Xbox have like their pre-PAX open house event that happens over there, trying to get in that showcase. So figuring out what your competition is always a good thing, or games you want to be like, and see what path they've gone on, and try to comparatively go on that path. That's for if you release on mobile, Steam, or whatever. You still have to do the research to see what they do and try to go on that same path. So you can't just, think you're going to post on some forum and then be the next, like Super Smash. Like if you're going to be next Super Smash, then you got to look at what they've done. Like, okay, they got a lot of money pumped behind them, so maybe I need a publisher or something. So be realistic. It's just about being realistic there.
Yeah, so one of the main things, like when you're saying I want to be a console developer, yes, it's cool to be like, hey, my game runs on the Switch or my game runs on Xbox, but you also don't want to forget why these guys are so powerful, right? Like Nintendo is so powerful because tomorrow they can tweet, we're going to make a game about fill in the blank, and literally everyone's eyes will be on them, you know, talking about what exactly they're releasing. So you want to use these guys' marketing power. And what a lot of indies don't know is that they actually literally once you are approved for the console, they have like a guide to say, as long as you give us enough time, we'll post your YouTube trailer on our social media, and we'll post you in a blog, and they will do these XYZ things that a lot of indies miss out on because they don't put aside enough time to utilize those marketing opportunities. Of course, if your game's already out, they won't, you know, in retrospect, go back and, you know, post your things. But as long as you approach them with enough time before release, they will actually get a ton of eyes on your game for free. Like literally, you will be, you know, on the front of like Nintendo's Twitter page for a day, or you know, on the Sony blog. As long as you talk to you will have an account executive. As long as you talk to them early enough, they'll help you with this. So this is part of putting together your marketing plan. And if you are in a great enough situation where you are able to have that console connection and get yourself published on a console, make sure you do yourself a favor and utilize these, because these are huge boosts to you that without them can cost you a ton of money. So do utilize the support that they do give you with marketing.
Yeah, it's really important because, like I said, now that we're kind of in that world of being on console, like you might think to yourself, okay, if I was just on console, then I'd be able to be successful. But we see so many developers, they're on console and they're still dropping the ball. Like there's so many opportunities guys would do for free. These are powerhouses. A tweet from them will give you millions of views, and they just like release the game. It's like, why don't you take your time?
Yeah, we've actually had guys from like Nintendo come to us and be like, we don't know why this game didn't come talk to us, because we could have helped them out.
Yeah, they get frustrated because they want to help more people, but when indie devs, when we get closer to that release, I think we get cold feet and don't like keep going through the business strategy of it. And it's really important to drive that through. So whatever platform you're releasing on, make sure you do that.
And then real quick, the whole don't be afraid to ask thing, that's really key. The worst thing anyone can ever say to you is no. Like we've been in conversations with like Nintendo and Microsoft, and we'd be like, hey, you guys should bring us to your E3 showcase, and they'll be like, nah, that's definitely not gonna happen. We're like, all right, cool, next conversation. But don't be afraid to ask, because like I said, if someone says no, no big deal, you move on to the next thing. But there's been a lot of things that we've also asked and they've said no to, but then they've come back and said, okay, we can't bring you there, but we can do this, that, and the other thing for you.
It really was the Nindies one.
The Nindies was one of those, right?
We asked for E3 first.
Right.
And they're like, no. And then they're like, but we have a Nindie showcase in March.
Right.
And little did we know, that was the biggest one they ever done, 1.5 million YouTube views. Like no other one has ever had that much on that. But we always ask for more than we need. And then they go notches down. We're like, all right, yeah, we'll take that.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, and that's with anyone, not just the consoles, honestly.
Yeah.
Even, you know, if you're showcasing at events, you know, if there's like a spot that you want, or you want a certain kind of setup, ask. You know, I went downstairs in the showcase, and somebody is actually, instead of having a TV, they're projected against the wall. So now they have a huge display. And I'm like, they were smart. They probably asked for a wall spot, and they're like, now we're gonna destroy this now. So
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
When we go to any showcase we go to, we always ask for something like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Like why not? Like I said, can we get a little more space? Can we, like for this one, can we get like 8 chairs? Like can we, like I always ask for as much as you can, and you'd be surprised. Eventually they're just like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And people ask like, how did you get this, or how are you in this spot? I was like, I just asked.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do anything but ask. Like I'm not afraid. They'll say no, then I just move on. I'm not offended for it, but definitely ask.
Yeah, so just one thing to keep in mind is that this is a long-term iterative journey. So you might go all the way down to the console approval step, and then something just doesn't feel right, and you decide to, you know, jump back a couple steps. Don't be afraid to move backwards and move forwards, depending on exactly where you are and where you want to be. This is not I'm gonna make a game on Monday, sell it on Tuesday, retire on Wednesday kind of plan, right? You wanna make sure that you actually have give yourself time, give yourself flexibility to go and, take these steps forward and backwards as you need. And like I said, everybody's goals, everybody's definition of success is different. Just make sure that you know what yours is and you play to your own speed, right? Don't, because you saw somebody else succeed within a year, don't look at them and be like, oh, I'm behind the track. No, move at your own speed, and trust me, as long as you know what your end goal is and you stick to what you need to do to get to that end goal, you will get where you want to get. So
Yeah, and there's no, like, so we've been doing this, we've been working on this project, which has been prototype since out of college. It's been going, it's on its 9th year now. But at no point would I feel like I would go back or regret anything. I feel like we've been in a stronger point every time. Like I said, now we're self-published in all platforms. We feel like we're really happy about that, in control, financially fine on that path. So, but it was because we were so willing to kind of be patient and being okay with kind of going back and refactoring, going through the process. So just have patience, keep pushing through it, but have a plan. As long as you have a plan there and going through that, you should be able to kind of keep on that path.
yeah, so if you guys want to follow us or talk to us after, we're on Discord. All you have to do is search Swimsanity. We're always up there talking when we should be developing, and we always do like the company. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. Definitely follow us up there. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. We do want to open up for any questions or anything that you guys want to share with us. If anyone has anything to add,
Feel free.
feel free. If not, you guys can go and get your drinks and whatnot, whatever's going on now. So, but yeah, we really do thank you guys for checking in. We're enjoying Washington so far, so we're hyped.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks. Thank you.